Chapter 1, Episodes 14-15. The birth of Sukadev, story of Sri Vishnu floating as a child on a banyan leaf. On seeing the beautiful Apsara, Gritadri, Vyasji fell into a quandary. He thought, this celestial female is not compatible for me. He became so serious in his expression that the Apsara became fearful that he would put a curse on her. She immediately changed her form into that of a parrot and trembling with fear flew past him. Vyasji was puzzled to see this. Actually, when he first saw her, he was overcome with carnal desires for her. At that time, he was churning the arani, wooden instrument for creating fire. All of a sudden, he spilled his seed on the wood, but unaware of this, he continued churning. Out of this was born Sukadev without conception. His appearance was as grand and auspicious as his father Vedavyas. Just as the fire of a Havan shines brightly on receiving oblations of Havi, so also the visage of Sukadev began to dazzle and glow. Seeing this son, Vedavyas's joy knew no bounds. He began to wonder what the significance of such a happening was. This was certainly the boon promised by Sri Shiva. The boy is the embodiment of Agni's splendor, light and beauty. Muni Vyas took a holy dip in the Ganges and returned to the summit of Mount Meru. The tapasvis on the mountain began to rain showers of flowers on the radiant boy. Vedavyas performed all the prescribed ceremonies of consecration, purification and investiture with sacred thread. Vishwavasu, Narada, Tumburu and other Gandharvas and demigods were pleased. They came down from heaven and sang and paid homage to this divine child. From the heavens also descended Divya Kamandal, divine earthen pot, staff, and the skin of a Krishna Mrug, black antelope. Sukadev grew up and matured very fast, and as always, his face was radiant and glowing. Vyasji, who was an expert in sacred precepts and ceremonies, conducted the sacred thread initiation ceremony. Like his father, Sukadev was also endowed with pure knowledge, and all the Vedas installed themselves within him with all their mysteries and secrets revealed. Sukadev chose as his spiritual teacher the Guru Brihaspati. He fulfilled all the requirements of a Shishya, including the oath of Brahmachari. While in the Gurukul, he specialized in the knowledge of all scriptures and became conversant with rites, ceremonies, and sacred precepts. On completion, he took leave of his guru by offering a token of gratitude. When he reached home, his father pressed him to his chest many times and took deep breaths of his forehead. Then, Samavartan was done, a Vedic rite performed on the return of a disciple to his household from his guru's residence. Now Vyasji began to think of getting Sukadev married. So one day, he approached his son. O sinless and guiltless one, you are now well versed in the Vedas and scriptures. You must get married and become a householder, thus pleasing the gods and ancestors. This will relieve me of Pitrashran, one of the 3 debts on a man from which he is freed when he begets a son. You are very intelligent and I have a lot of expectations from you. It is your filial duty to fulfill them. After severe penances, I was blessed to behold you. O constant and unborn one, you are of divine form, I am your father. Please look after me. Sudji said, having heard his father's words, this ascetic who had subdued all his passions spoke thus. Sukadev said, Father, tell me, in this mortal world is there any happiness without sorrow? The learned ones do not term such a state as happy. Marriage will bring me under subjection to women. Once she gets me under her control, what freedom will I have? It is possible for a man to free himself of shackles of iron and steel, but it is impossible to get out of the bondage of wife and children. O twice born, the body functions and gives out excretions. A woman's body also does the same. Why would any man, aware of the truth, wish to enter into gratification with such a body? O Brahmin, I am unborn. then why would I want to become a being that has its birth through the organ of generation? I do not wish to take birth again in the future. Why should I sacrifice the supreme joy of loving God for the odious and abhorrent carnal pleasures? Those who have experienced the bliss of spirit will never be tempted by material pleasures. My first step was to make a thorough study of the Vedas, but when I contemplated on them, I found conclusively that they supported slaughter and inclined the mind towards attachment to worldly objects in pursuit of religious performance to purify the mind. I chose Sri Brihaspati as my religious preceptor, but he was also continuously caught up in the ocean of duties enjoined for a householder. So, how could he guide me? When a physician is himself afflicted, how can he practice the art of healing? This was the situation in the case of my Guru. He is himself searching for the route to moksha. Oh, how dark and gloomy is the life of a householder. I bowed to my Guru respectfully and came back to you. My heart trembles at the thought of this venomous and poisonous existence. Please teach me the knowledge of the essences or principles of the elements and save me. I am orbiting this world of darkness like an assembly of planets. With this ceaseless movement, I am unable to find peace, tranquility, and repose. You will realize that there is no such thing as worldly happiness. The ignorant may claim that there is, but then they are like worms which find happiness in the soil where they belong. But those who have knowledge of the Vedas and scriptures and still maintain that there is happiness in the material world, they are the most foolish and unfortunate beings. Their birth is as insignificant and meaningless as that of a dog, donkey, or horse. After being born a mortal and getting an opportunity to acquire knowledge of the Vedas and Shastras, if a human being shackles himself with worldly bondages, then who deserves to get moksha? Woman is a threefold Maya. In this world, only he can be called as having crossed the ocean of illusion who has successfully detached himself from her shackles. No useful purpose is served in just having the knowledge and getting ensnared. I must study how to avoid it. Because of these fetters, Griha, family abode, has come to be called Graha, eclipse. Father, marriage has all the paraphernalia for bindings and attachments. I am in constant fear of this. Those who have no discrimination, those who are victims of fate, they have wasted this birth by opting for bondage. Vyasji replies, Son, marriage is neither a bondage nor the cause for bondage. A man can be a householder but so detached that he is free. He uses his wealth which has been constantly earned as prescribed in the Vedas for good purposes. If he performs rites for the honor of his ancestors, if he always speaks the truth, and if he maintains holiness and purity, he can get moksha even inside his house. After completing their posts, the brahmachari, the sannyasi, and the vanaprasth come for alms at midday. And it is the dharma of the householder to offer them food and speak to them with respect and concern. This gives them satisfaction. I do not know of, nor have I heard of any state which is more important than being a householder. The wise, experienced, and learned sage Vasishtha and other acharyas have all been householders. O fortunate one, householders who live in accordance with the tenets of the Vedas can achieve the highest spiritual ascent, and all their desires and aspirations get fulfilled. Dharmic and knowledgeable men say that one should always observe the rules of one stage of life before entering the second and the third. So, it is advisable that you establish a home and endeavor to perform all the duties that it enjoins. Son, the secrets of dharma are not hidden from you. Enter the state of a householder, beget sons, and give happiness to your father and forefathers. Later on, you can renounce the world, go into the forest, and observe the austerities of Vanaprastha life. Then, last of all, the ultimate existence of sannyas ashram can be observed. Son, heed my advice. Let us find a suitable bride for you, settle down as a householder, and you can live according to the Vedic principles. Sukadev replied, Father, forgive me, but I cannot accept Grihasthashram. It is comparable to a permanent bondage. Man is continually involved in the tensions of amazing wealth and never can recognize or experience joy. In the pursuit of material possessions, he harms and kills others. Even Indra has never been able to experience the complete happiness which is enjoyed by a beggar who is content with his freedom from desires and indifferent to the material wealth. Even if one gains the riches of the three worlds, he cannot experience the joy of detachment that a beggar feels. Indra is the king of Devalok, but when he sees a saint in meditation, he feels jealous and insecure. He becomes constantly engaged in efforts to put obstacles and hindrances and break the meditation. O fortunate one, I am your unconceived son. Then why are you pushing me into a world which is full of endless darkness, unhappiness, and sorrow? Birth, old age, and death, and again rebirth after occupying the unclean water of a womb, are filled with gloom and sorrow. The evil that follows avarice and greed is more distressful and painful. Worse than death are cravings and addictions. When the family grows into father, mother, children, grandchildren, and all dependents, they all become instrumental in multiplying your responsibilities and problems. Father, the joy-giving pursuits are Yoga Shastra and Jnana Shastra, union of the self with the universal soul by means of meditation, one who seeks pure Nirmal Vidya and knowledge of yoga philosophy by sage Patanjali. Give me a commentary and interpretation of these secrets. There is a science of innumerable rituals, Karma Kand, but I am not interested in that. Blaming fate and destiny, hoarding to provide for a secure future, and worrying and toiling for present existence, these three activities come from ignorance and false knowledge. Teach me the way to neutralize and go beyond these actions and involvements. Suji said, upon hearing these strong statements, Vyasji sank into waves of despair and began to wonder how to make a correct and positive decision. Sukadev was shocked and amazed to see his father in such a pitiful state. He said, O father, Maya has an overpowering influence. No wonder learned men who are proficient in these scriptures, who are religious instructors and give discourses and quite authentically proved episodes from the Vedas, get swayed and lose their senses of discrimination and discretion. I am unable to understand the nature of this Maya. It must be something insurmountable, impossible and difficult to overcome. If Satyavati Nandan Vyasji, who is possessed of the highest order of spiritual knowledge and wisdom, has got entangled in its chains. The most illustrious one, who is the narrator of the Puranas, the noble-spirited one, who composed the Mahabharata, and the skilled one who was entrusted with dividing the Vedas, he also got captivated by this Maya. Even the creator, preserver and destroyer have come under the illusion and confusion created by Maya Devi. Then how can anyone else in the three worlds escape? Undoubtedly, the strength and prowess of Maya Devi is awe-inspiring because even the all-powerful and omniscient Sri Vishnu was overcome and could not function in her absence. Vyasji is an Ansh avatar, partial incarnation of Sri Vishnu, and yet he is being tossed around in the ocean of illusion like a sailor who has lost his boat. He has lost control and is weeping tears like an ordinary mortal. The power of Yoga Maya is strange and curious, and even the discerning cannot recognize and avoid it. Who is she? Who am I? And how did I come to be here? What strange illusion is this? This body is composed of 5 elements. It has the propensity for relationships like father, son, and others. This can deceive even fraudulent and artful beings, and is undoubtedly an infinite and boundless energy, possessed of unlimited capability. It has caused even Brahman Devata Veda Vyasji to shed tears from his eyes. Suji said, Yoga Maya is the supreme causal of all causes. All the gods emanated from her. Even Sri Brahma is under her control. Sukdevji worshipped Bhagavati Yogamaya in his heart and offered pranams. His father had been reduced to a pitiable state. He was sinking into an ocean of sorrow. Sukdevji spoke words that would be benevolent for his father. O fortunate one, you are the legitimate son of Parasharji, begotten by a wife who was of his own tribe. It is your nature to impart divine knowledge to all. Then why are you sinking into despair like an ordinary, illiterate, and ignorant mortal? Today I am your son, but no one knows what I was in my previous birth and what you were. Why should a learned and illustrious teacher like you fall into this trap of Maya? Use your wisdom with gravity and fortitude. It is not right to contaminate your mind with dejection and sorrow. Just recognize these father-son relationships as a web of illusion. O Muni, you are knowledgeable and the embodiment of virtue and wisdom. With your religious prowess, remove my ignorance so that I can be freed from the fear of taking birth through human process. This earth is Karma Bhumi and one does not always merit a human birth. And then, if one is born in the house of a Brahmin of a high order, then it is a rare and unique event. But I feel captured and bound, and I am unable to get rid of this connection. When the mind gets caught in the worldly web, then it is the patriarch who is answerable. Suji said, Sukadevji was extremely wise. His demeanor was peaceful. In his mind, he was already detached, a sannyasi. Hearing these words from his worthy and capable son, Vyasji said, Son, you are very blessed and fortunate. I have written Devi Bhagavat. You make a study of it. It is equal to the Vedas. It has 5 features of immeasurable value and it is divided into 12 chapters. In my opinion, this is the decoration and embellishment of all the Purans, meaning it is preeminent, excellent and most superior. Just from listening to it being read, one gets the power of discretion and the ability to judge right from wrong. You must study Devi Bhagavat. Once, Sri Vishnu found himself as a small child floating on a banyan leaf. He began to wonder, why have I turned into a child? Which divine being has caused this to happen to me? To accomplish which task have I been created thus? Out of what substance have I been formed? How will I obtain knowledge of all these things? Sri Vishnu was pondering thus when Sri Bhagavati Yogamaya allayed all his fears. She uttered in the most beautiful voice the half shlok which unravels the mystery of the object of a human being's creation and existence. I am this entire creation. There is no other indestructible or imperishable object but me. Sarvam kalvidamevaham nanyadasti sanatanam. On hearing this awesome declaration, the first thing that happened to Sri Vishnu was that he understood it in its entirety. Then he began to wonder, from whose Vani voice has this awesome declaration emanated? Is the speaker a male or a female or neither? What must I do to have a glimpse of this being? Even as he was contemplating, he enthroned the Divine Mother in his heart. He kept repeating the half shlok again and again. He became engrossed in it, but his curiosity had not left. He lay down on the leaf. When his attention became tranquil and thoughtless, then the Devi Yogamaya appeared before him. She manifested her divine form of 4 arms bearing conch, chakra, mace and lotus. Her clothes were shining. Necklaces of pearls and other jewels were added to her splendor. She was accompanied by her attendants. Her face was beautiful. With a smile on her radiant face, she stood before Sri Vishnu, the Devi Mahalakshmi herself. Suji says, all around was the vast ocean. On seeing this resplendent form of the Devi so suddenly, the lotus-eyed Sri Vishnu was astonished. Surrounding her were her other aspects, all seated on thrones: love, affection, intelligence, prosperity, intellect, dignity, fame, memory, understanding, faith, prudence, purity, hunger, thirst, sleep, compassion, movement, contentment, forgiveness, modesty, deep sleep, rest, satisfaction. They all carried weapons for destroying negativities. They were all adorned with jewels, garlands of sweet-smelling parijat flowers and necklaces of pearls enhanced their beauty. Sri Vishnu began to wonder, who are all these female forms? And who am I on this leaf of banyan? When there is only Bhavasagar all around, how did this leaf appear? And which unknown power has caused me to become a little child lying on this leaf? Who is this form before me? Which undefinable power has placed this indescribable scene before me? Now, what should I do? Should I go somewhere? Or should I remain here in this innocent childlike form?